All right, so this is a hard submission to escape, okay, because of the fact that because your arm is trapped, and if your partner's doing everything right, you're not going to be able to get a hand posted on the hip, which means you're only going to have one hand to post on the hip and one frame which isn't reinforced. So if you have one hand in the hip, you can lift one hip and bridge in one direction, but it's going to be harder to off-balance them to bridge in the opposite direction. And if you have a cross hip post, you can really push with one elbow in one direction, but it's going to be hard to tricep post and extend your tricep to move them in the opposite direction. So you have one strong post if you have a cross frame, and then one weak post, which you don't really have the ability to move your partner's hip, or you have a post with the ball of your hand on your partner's hip, and you have the ability to bridge on one side, but not off balance them and bridge them to the other side. So this is a definite problem. Okay. So my partner has me in arm and guillotine. You'll see what I'm talking about now. When she has me in this guillotine, she has her left elbow coming back to her hip. So now this arm is like just floating around in space here, and I won't be able to get it to my partner's hip to post on it, which means I can only post here, like so, or here, like so. And this gives me the ability to push strongly in this direction, but not in this direction, okay? If I'm going to take my hand to my partner's hip, and we end up here, because you're getting strangled, so it is a time thing, but understand you won't have any kind of strong enough, nearly strong enough push to get an initial off balance if your elbow is outside your partner's hip. So I always take the time, I always take the time to bridge a few times and get my elbow inside my partner's hip, so now I have a legitimate way to push on my partner. Okay? If I'm here and I feel like my elbow is outside the hip and I want to post the hand in the hip, I always bridge, and I get the elbow inside. Now, if your partner's smart, she'll take the hand, that knee all the way up high, so now you can't get the hand to the hip. Whenever I see this is always the time to go cross post, like so. Now, from this position, it's going to be tough. I have to start. My escape is going to be in this direction because I can't create a bridge strong enough in this direction to actually start kipping. I can't get my weight onto one of my partner's knees. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a kazushi in this direction. So I'm going to bridge, and my right hand is going to shoot across the body just for a small off balance. So I bridge 1, 2. And then from here, I start kipping, and I can get my knees to the inside. It isn't going to be easy, but this is what it's going to look like. So I bridge 1, 2, and then I start kipping. And I start my kip from there, okay? So we go in, my partner has an arm in guillotine. From here, if my elbow's inside the knee, I can post on the hip like so. If my elbow's outside the knee, I can go cross frame. Same goes for low elbow guillotines. She goes to a low elbow guillotine or a high elbow, then I have to make a conversion to a low elbow. If her knees are up this high, posting on the hip won't suffice. If I take a cross frame here or a cross frame here. Okay, so just understand the relationship between the framing and your partner's knee position. If you have inside elbow position, you can post on the hip. If your partner has inside knee position, you post cross hip. Okay, we talked about this a lot in the mount instructional. Okay, now she goes arm and guillotine once again. From here, we go cross frame. I start with an initial kazushi and off balance in the opposite direction I want to escape. So I bridge 1, 2, and then I start kipping, and now from here we're out and we're ready to go. This is easier said than done, but this is your path to escape. So understand things are different now, and because your partner has the arm trapped, that takes away a hip post, and it only gives you the ability to bridge strongly to one side. So you start with a small bridge and a kazushi to one side, and then you follow it up as your partner goes to recenter and adjust to that with a strong bridge to the opposite side, where you start kipping, and then bring knees and head back into a good defensive stance, and you're ready to go into counterattacks.